organizations for level 5. Okay, that's Srivatsan for us. Okay, that's kind of, I'm spellbound with that kind of an experience, Srivatsan. Stage is all yours.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. So, good morning. Have we found who you are? Yeah, I anticipated that. So, my friend Pradeep has kind of tipped me, to start off a little differently today morning. I'll take 2 minutes to tell you a small snippet about this who we are thing, right? I picked this up from one of the sessions which I attended earlier. There is this gentleman who's a chief executive in Wall Street, big guy, making billions of dollars. He goes to New York Kennedy Airport for checking in. As usual, New York is as chaotic as it is from a crowd perspective. Now our man goes there and stands in the check-in line in business class, and there are like 14 people or 15 people before him. He grows impatient because it takes at least 3 to 4 minutes for a person to check in and get the tag done and everything. He walks up to the assistant up there on the counter and says, "You know who am I? I just want to get this over." She says, "Sir, we are going by order. Let's relax. Please take your position back." 5 minutes later again, "Ma'am, you don't recognize. You know who am I?" She was again patient. She said, "Sir, I don't know, but then you need to wait because we follow the process what's been told. We have no authority to override." Third time this guy gets really irritated. He comes and says, "Listen, I'm going to tell you, who am I? I just need to get out." The lady puts everything down. She stands up and says, "Ladies and gentlemen, can someone help this man? He doesn't know who he is." Now, this is the starting point of transformation as such. So I thought I'll bring in a little bit of spiritual element into this. I'm not going to advise you, please don't get me wrong, but this was told to me by Jaggi Vasudev when I attended one of his sessions. Okay, so let's start off with a puzzle. From yesterday morning, we have been listening to transformation of various forms. We will listen to it for the next 50 years, right? Maybe till we live. I don't know how long that is. Okay. I'm going to talk transformation only from a testing perspective, so let's make ourselves very clear here. Okay. Now let's talk about, I am here in this industry for 18 years in testing, and I have met at least 700 to 800 clients across the globe. Everybody talked about transformation in different forms to me. Everybody asked me a million questions, and I still don't know the answer. Let's be very honest, okay? So that's the premise with which I'm going to start this conversation, right? Now, you look at this, what I have put down. I mean, there is endless possibilities of what you call transformation as. This is the leading, snippet for our discussion forward. What is transformation in QA parlance? Step-by-step roadmap with a clearly defined end state. True, false? I don't know. Change of process approach leading to optimization. True or false? Yes, no? We'll wait. Top-down strategic initiative. Intro and change management to bring out systematic changes leading to tangible value. Good English, yeah. But is it true? God knows. Enterprise-wide initiative driven down, clearly defined outcomes for moving up the value chain. I'm not going to ask you to answer this now. Chew it in your mind. Where will you vote if you have to say what is transformation? All of it? Some of it? None of it? Well, let's so be it. But these are the common themes that CXOs put on the table as we go talk to them when we get into the sales cycle. Lot of views come in. It depends on the size of the organization you are attacking, correct? And let me also take a step back and say, before I go to the ground rules, What is the English definition of transformation? Keep testing out of it. Keep IT out of this. Sudden change. They say it's a change that happens quickly, correct? Or change that, so go to Wikipedia, they give you different types of, answers for this. But always in anything you take, right? See what happens to you. One fine day you realize that you are clogged up, you are completely psyched, work pressure, home, they say that, you never care about anything, you just come with a laptop, go with a laptop, bathe with a laptop, sleep with a laptop, I don't know what the hell you do. You have like 1,000 things hitting you and you are 40 suddenly. So you realize, I have to find some solution for this. Let me go attend a program. Through 2-3 days you attend some nice program, somebody, either Jaggi Vasudeva or Ravi Shankar, whoever it is. 3 days later, are you transformed? It takes time. It sinks. It has to sink in, you have to realize, and you have to believe that you have transformed, only then it happens to yourself. So, for one person, as in you, it takes years to do. How can you expect an enterprise to change in 6 months, 8 months, 1 year? Unrealistic, correct? So this is the message we have to think when we start writing our next proposals, right? Now, when we get into transformation, right, let's look at possibly what are the ground rules before we start transforming the client. Now, again, the question goes back, I ask you, is transformation an end state? There's no end for transformation. You have to keep transforming, otherwise you'll go out of business, right? So, let's look at, what are some of the ground rules you consider, especially when you touch QA organizations, which are fragile, in my opinion. You look at getting a comfortable grip on the organization maturity, because you first need to know what you are getting into. Unless you know what's the organization landscape, who's running it, where's the funding coming from, how are they doing, how's their integration with support functions and delivery teams, and what is the political landscape of the organization, whether there will be an inhibitor or an enhancer for a transformation. The fundamental thing is, make sure that you know the maturity, not from a process standpoint. Keep process out of our discussions for now. I'm talking more from an organization standpoint. Will they withstand this transformation, first of all? Do they have the capacity and ability to transform? How much of change management is required? Now, the second point is the customer business. When I say business, it's just not about what they do. I'm not going to say that you have to understand retail business if you have to go transform Walmart. No. There are other things in the parlance of business which we have to really be focused on. The first thing is the customer priority. What does he want? Some people come and say, I don't care. I just want my production to go bug free. That's all I care about. That is one perception. Second one says, hey man, I'm really struggling with a lot of vendors. I don't know how to consolidate. How do I go forward? Second problem. Third aspect is quality is my issue. Whoever comes, they goof up. I don't know why. It could be my guys, it could be your guys, but find out where the problem is. Everything has a transformational element in there. Of course, political landscape, extremely important, because the underlying factors in a customer organization always lies with the vendor management and the PMO, who are very powerful most of the times, because they decide who comes in and who gets out. And who are the undercurrents playing with CXOs. How would you make sure that you have an alignment with all the critical parties before you embark on this exercise? Very critical point to understand. And of course, funding, operations. When I say funding, we cannot give a roadmap that will cost them $3 million when they are struggling to make their ends meet. What would we do? Because these are the fundamental blocks for us when we start answering the questions. After 2 years of engagement, they ask, so what's the value you have given me? Very standard question I have come across 100,000 times so far. Then, extremely important, success. Metrics is not success. Metrics is only indicator. whatever you do little, you have to capture that. Whether you make a process improvement, productivity by 5%, whether you are improving test coverage by 3%, all this leads to transformation, because any change that is not there today is a transformation in my opinion. So it grows from small to big. So success capturing and reporting has to be ingrained into the roadmap we are configuring for the clients. Skin in the game, extremely important. I'll come to the change management aspects as we go by. Skin in the game means customer involvement is extremely important. If they don't sign on the dotted line, I don't think we want to go ahead with the transformation plan at all. Because the fundamental problem is, if you do not have a representative taking our message back to their organization, I think we lose the game. And it's traditionally happened. So please ascertain the customer buy-in and how much they are willing to put, and it's a collaborative effort. I think Lauren was touching upon collaboration a lot. It's a significant amount of collaboration, especially when you are embarking on a transformational journey. So we have to get the higher stakeholders buy-in, it go top down. Now, next thing which we kind of oversee a lot of times is, who are the troublemakers in the game? It could be anybody, but we have to be transparent about it, because at the end of the day, it's our success as well. We want the client to be successful. That can happen only when you are successful. So you need to go tell the customer if there are roadblocks. That you can be diplomatic about it, but you have to be clear about it. Say, yes, I have an issue. This guy is causing problems. I don't know why. Then sort it out. I mean, you're not complaining, but you are ensuring that the process goes smoother. Last but not the least, you need a change agent. That's what I was talking to you about when I started the conversation, right? You need a Sri Sri Ravi Shankar and a Sadhguru Jaggi to transform you. They are the change agents for you. They make the change and you imbibe the change. So you need somebody like that sitting and horizontally looking across the entire engagement, putting changes wherever as it goes by, so that it imbibes by itself. It's a time-bound process, but then yes, that's what it is. Now let's look at QA organization. Now this is again a very complex term. Yesterday's QA organizations, or day before yesterday's organizations, were developers all. So we had, to start with, we had SDLC, that's all. Then came segregation. We started having QA. QA means testing and development together. No testing, no problem. Next transformation step, QA and QC. Testing gets separated, independent verification, validation comes, process is on the sides, it goes. Today it is QE. You go to quality engineering today. So look at the transformation industry has gone through in the last 40 years. It has taken 40 years for the industry to move from the so-called one SDLC to two life cycles, and today it's become an engineering science. Tomorrow it could become anything, I don't know. I don't read trends, so I don't know. Right? Now, with this complexity on all these multi-vendor things, you have multi-parties, you have got multi-technology landscape, you have got complex applications, you have got 3 layers, you have got web services, application layer, database layer, everything gets complex. Now then stakeholders increase. So QA's success is not running test case anymore. QA's success is a multi-dimensional success. Now what are those elements you would consider if you have to go for a maturity? Look at delivery and process capability. I put delivery as a keyword there because delivery is something which the fundamental breadwinner for all of us, and I don't think we should ever forget about it. Strategy does not come without delivery. It's easy to make PPTs, it is difficult to make it work. That's the lesson I have learned. So, now delivery is the fulcrum of your transformation. That is what leads you to the small value you are going to start adding. Second aspect is workforce. Man, this is a humongous element that you have to consider, because you may have a 1,000-member testing team. Who should do what, and what should they be, what will they do in the transformation as they go by, all have to be charted out. They should have an enablement plan, they should have a career map, they should have a growth path, and they should be able to move across career if they have to do so. So the potential identification, their success roadmap is an integral part of your transformation journey. Do not forget the workforce career capability. Support functions, release, config, change, infrastructure, very important for testing. Your build fails, you are responsible. Wrong version of code deployed, you are responsible. Why? Let's put the stakeholder on the stage and say that, listen, this guy goofed up, I have got nothing to do with it. No tool can save you at that point, correct? The point is stakeholder alignment more than the function alignment. Release, config, change, and infrastructure have to play into you. Your environments have to be ready on time. So put them as part of your governance. That's what it means when it comes to that. Financial and operational efficiency, lovely, beautiful buzzword. Everybody loves this because this is where your value comes from. Financial is your dollars, operations is your on-off ratio, your pyramid ratio, your top line, bottom line, all this. So now where are you going to go? You have to make sure that those are in tune. Governance and structure, absolutely important. I don't want to get into that because it's a very vague topic. Technology and innovation, last of it. And there is a reason why I have put this in this order, correct? We'll go in the end and see that. Technology capability, when I mean that you are moving into mobility, you are moving into cloud, then you need the ability and capability to deliver as much with same efficiency as you are delivering today. So your organization has to transform to that to move up. So now the most important, where could things fall apart? A lot of places, but I have chosen a few which is very visible. How do we define transformation in context? That is the first success or a failure point, right? If you do not understand the customer business context and go to a one-size-fits-all model, you are in for a major disaster there. So when I say business, that's what I covered in the previous slide. Understanding the business context before building the transformation roadmap is very, very critical for somebody, correct? So definition of transformation changes with the business context of the client. It is not templatized. That is the message I want to put in front of the table. Now, where are my opportunities? You cannot transform one morning. You have to do an assessment. You look at where are the low-hanging fruits, what can I prove first, and more importantly, what can I measure and show back. So opportunity sensing is very, very critical in a transformation roadmap. And right solution mapping only. You cannot have a big solution upfront and say, you put this, everything will work. It's not a magic wand. It's not going to happen. So solutioning for only the problems is very important in roadmap. Well, roadmaps are, it starts from 12 months, 18 months, 24, 36, 48, it keeps going. Now the roadmap is not something that is the end point. We have to be very clear that the roadmap lays the foundation and transformation actually happens after that in a step-by-step manner. So roadmap, when you lay the roadmap, what you need to keep in mind, priorities, demonstrate success as you do. It's very critical for transformation. Sustain the success. You show one productivity improvement by 10% in this release, next release it goes for a toss, then you are not sustaining success. That means your recommendation is not in line with what it is to be. And finally, start improving after that. So sustainability demonstration is extremely critical from a success perspective. How much to commit? Well, that is the biggest problem we all have. We want to be very impressive. We'll say, I'll bring the sky down, whatever it is. But then the fundamental realistic approach would be to see, let's not give a reasonable solution, but be realistic about how much we can do. Because we also have certain roadblocks. We also have certain learning curve before we get to the point where we are comfortably aligned to transforming the customer. So I think we need to be very clear about what can be realistic done in the first 6 months, next 6 months, the following 6 months. And just do what you speak. Commitments not delivered is erosion of trust. We all know that. I don't even have to elaborate on this. The moment the first erosion signs happen, your transformation is off the mark. That's it. Then they'll keep watching you, they'll ask you questions, and you are put in a cell for interrogation day after day. So the initial success, make sure that commitments are very, very clearly given and delivered. And of course, the moment success fails, you're going to increase your change management effort. Your account executives spend more time with the customers, your senior management goes and keeps meeting the customers, so you will spend time in convincing rather than doing the job. So the point is, commitments are very critical to the proposals, what we build on the roadmaps we build. What do you leverage? Extremely important. Let's not talk, upfront and say, I have $1 million worth of IPs. I will come and put it in your engagement. You will turn around in no time. No. Let's look at the opportunity, wait for the right one, and then take that, prove it, and then deploy it. If you want to charge back, you can always do that. But then upfront, all you can do is you can only say, I have all this, but I would not be sure if I can deploy or not without assessing what you want. So the next point is, what do I watch out for? As I was telling you, there will be always somebody to play against us in these kind of initiatives, especially when there are a lot of vendors working with us, partners working with us. You don't know who is digging the pit where you're standing. On fine morning, you'll be inside it. Unless you watch out for the political landscape, you have to be very smart there. That's where most of our client-facing execs on the account side are very solid in this kind of. So relationship is critical, right? You have to build and sustain relationships. When I say relationships, relationship is not wine and dine or golfing, but it is about how do you speak the customer language in his business parlance in terms of what you can do as a collaborative unit. It is not chit-chat conversation. No, relationship building through the transformational engagement is what you are supposed to concentrate on. Now, this is not cast on stone, but I just thought I'll put something up on the board for us to envisage potentially how a transformation can look like. Again, this is debatable. With all the elements I have put in the previous slides, I thought I'll put some figure to this, and I want some figures in my slides. I don't want to be too textual, so I thought I'll put one here. Okay. So looking at this, you have on the top, you look at how do you move on the relationship from a initial engagement up to the matured stage of transformation. You first engage, you deliver and prove. That's the next step of the engagement. Third step is you build trust. As you deliver and prove, you build trust. Fourth step is once they start trusting you, they take you as a partner. And after becoming a partner, you are eligible to advise to the customer. So you have to go through this journey if you are to be an advisory, transformational leader for your customer. Very, very critical and important. Three major areas, not rocket science: delivery, process, operations. And the last part, I have left it as over and above because that is where all your technology transformation comes in. When I say this, it's not a specific order, but my thought would be to let's max out each area before we go to the next one, because process and delivery methodology is a bread and butter for us. Whatever optimization you can gain out of it, let's get it down first. Pump it. I'm not saying don't improve after that, but derive the maximum value from it in the initial stages when you are in the engage and deliver. That's all you can do. You cannot become a strategic advisor on day 3. So deliver, prove, max your productivity, max your coverage and quality aspects, and then jump into your operational aspects where you start looking at optimizing your on-off ratio, bringing in SMEs and improving the tested to SME ratio, bringing in a program management layer and trying to move more people outside. Whatever you want to play, all those operational aspects, your top line, bottom line, you have to watch out. That will not be part of the roadmap. But from operations on the customer facing side, don't jump on to tweaking the operational sides unless you have proven through delivery. It's extremely critical. And all this I am saying from my experience, what I have done through the 160 odd engagements I have seen. I have faced all of this in one way or the other. So it's a wisdom rather than experience, right? So then you finally look at, beyond that, you now start talking about cloud mobility. I'm not saying don't accept projects for cloud and mobility, but don't commit on transforming the customer on those areas unless you are stabilized in your relationship, unless you are clear on how much you can deliver, you have built the trust, and you're operationally efficient so that you're giving the money back to the customer, and then embark on this journey so that it is a very safe bet to adopt. I'm putting a disclaimer up front that this is not cast on stone. This is a thought process which would be more sustainable, and relationships don't go for a toss. So the last slide, I'm exceeding by 2 minutes, you have to excuse me for that. What's the takeaway? Transformation can be tactical, strategic, it's purely context based that we discussed. It's not one size fit all, definitely. Starts day one, results have to be documented, published, success have to be shared, very critical for our journey. Change, however fast the change manifests itself, is the speed at which transformation can manifest itself as well. Of course, it's collaborative. When I say collaborative, it's client, you and other parties. It's just not your organization. It's more successful when it's systematically approached and when it is implemented. The last part is, don't lose trust. Just be cautious and always keep this line in mind. Meet the expectation before you want to exceed the expectation. Thanks, Pradeep. Thanks for the opportunity. Thank you, everybody, for listening.
Thanks a lot. So we have time for some question and answers. So any specific questions? No? Yes, okay.
As you alluded in the beginning of the presentation, in terms of you begin with little.
Maybe loud.
Okay, you begin with little philosophical mindset, questioning who or how, what is the meaning of transformation and all that. Do you believe the word transformation is kind of become more like a marketing jargon? And
I should say.
Can we do without? I mean, I could if I were to read this entire slide deck, without ever using the word transformation, you still make a lot of sense.
Of course.
Which means that probably the time has come to junk this word and probably discover some other word which means the same thing.
See, I agree with you, because we have this habit of beating things to death, right? It's a common thing in industry. So don't call transformation. You just say, let's be successful. Let's use plain English. I mean, it's fine. Now, the problem is, if you put yourself in the customer shoes, 10 presentations they see every day. Now, obviously, they get carried away somewhere. And one guy in that meeting will ask you, are you guys not doing transformation? He said, boss, I'm just talking about it. He said, no, do transformation. Now, that's where you get locked. You say, okay, let me put that. He's asking, fine. So, certain times it is not by force, but apparently, I strongly believe it's what you do matters. What you call doesn't matter. Call it a donkey or a horse. If it does its function, so be it. It's like they say, whether you drive a BMW or a Maruti, the ultimate thing is point A to point B. Serves the purpose, that's it.
So any other questions?
Yeah.
Otherwise, yeah.
Srini here from Exchanging. You're talking about the process maturity. Given a scenario, the current situation where most of us talking about innovation and the speed, is it still valid, talking about process maturity and all those things?
Absolutely. See, innovation and technology is an enabler. You have to understand that. See, can you tell me today that CMMI is going to die? Can you tell me COBOL is dead? No, we still use it. See, process is, again, let's understand it very clearly. My opinion of process is, it has to walk with you. You cannot take it as life. Your life is testing. That is all you have. 25% of life cycle is all you have. Now, you need certain support that is going to tell where I fall, where I am going to measure, how I am going to measure. So, process improvement, to your question, I'll tell you, don't harp on it too much. But then, whatever little you can show out of it, I think you should be able to do it, because it is a discipline, we have to follow. And for some reason, all our ancestors have believed in selling it so hard that we cannot get out of it so easily. So old habits die hard, correct? So we have to wait for it.
For example, now TMMI, testing maturity. So we are not talking at all actually. No, in the 2 years back, you're talking too much on that. Like now, no one is talking about that actually.
Correct. I'll tell you why. Because TMMI has a background. We will talk about it offline. I don't want to take that conversation here. Models are all time bound, right? You look at this, now today people talk agile. Where did it come from? Are you sure 5 years down the line agile will be the norm of the day? I don't know. So when development life cycles can undergo such a change, why not testing models? And TMMI, unless used, even I haven't used technically, though I have contributed, I have been one of the authors of the model, I still don't know whether TMMI implemented would be what it would be. But it is believed that it is structured and it is easy to fragment and do your testing better. That's the way in which it is approached. But in an agile setup, that is going to, so it's all time bound.
Thank you.
Yeah, please.
Good morning. My name is Shrikala and I'm from Bosch. I have a question. When do you get the cue that it's time to transform?
When do you get a clue it's time to transform? Good question. There is no time like that. Okay. When do you want to transform? You will determine it when you understand the customer organization enough. Or even for your own organization, if you want to do a transformational journey. See, I did a people transformational journey in my organization. So there is no right time for it. The point is, what are the right levers to transform is the key thing. So there will be always one lever that is suffering in an organization, which we will not know till we get into the depth, the nuts and bolts, and see how it is. So I don't think you can say an organization should be 2 years in this state to start transformation. No. You look at the levers, decide on priorities, and then start transforming. That is how you go approach transformation.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
I think it's time for the next talk. Thanks a lot.